Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to MUFC versus everybody. Just getting a few of the settings put in here and changing over the live chat so I can see everybody, not just the top chat. Um, Welcome back. Obviously, I am your host, Sean. This is MUFC versus everybody, and this is where we talk about any and everything and all things related to Manchester United, the Premier League, European football. If you've been following along, we'll talk a little bit about maybe some psychology related stuff as it becomes relevant. Obviously, nothing I say is to be taken as professional advice in that regard. I am a mental health professional, but please don't take anything I say as advice. If I call Jose Mourinho a textbook narcissist, don't try to diagnose your friends or anything because I said so. Just just don't take it as advice. It's just me speaking from experience on things and given my perspective. At the end of the day, I'm a fan just like you. I am a United supporter just like you guys, hopefully, and I am anti anything and everything Liverpool related, just like you, hopefully. So today, obviously, we're coming back with our daily news roundup. We've got a lot to go over today, some big developments in the league. We've got some transfer talk, injury updates, and let's talk a little bit about this fire sale that United are having. Before we jump in, though, don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you are new. Don't forget to go check me out, MUFC versus everybody on Twitter. I do get a little involved with discussions and things going on, particularly if it's Samuel Luckhurst, or as I like to call him, Samuel Butthurst, because he's still upset about being kicked out of United presser. He's still upset about Louis Van Gaal going in on him. He's still upset about being called out for spouting nonsense. So you can tell an agenda. You can almost spot it a mile away when it comes to the media, and it's been the norm for us for a long time. So you love to see it, but at the same time, it's a little embarrassing for the journos, right? You might also, if you've been following the channel, know that this week I have been doing a bit of a mini series on managers that we've been linked with. I've done two of them already. The first video talked a little bit about Ten Hag and Graham Potter. Yesterday's video, we talked a little bit about Roberto De Zerbi. Got some feedback from that on Twitter. That was pretty fun. And what he brings to the table, would he be a good fit for United? Be sure to go check those videos out if you want to know my thoughts on De Zerbi, Graham Potter, and Ten Hag, and how they score on my criteria that I have come up with. Let me know your thoughts in those videos in the comments. So today, let's get stuck in. Thanks you guys for checking me out on your way to work. You're getting your coffee. I've got my coffee here too. You guys coffee people or are you tea people? I'm definitely a coffee person. Although for the health nuts out there, I do start the day with a glass of water to get everything going. Always want to start with water. It's very important. So let's dive right in. So we'll start with transfer news today. So according to Dan Owen with HITC, United are among a handful of big clubs currently scouting Galatasaray attacker Barış Alper Yilmaz. He's a wide player. He's versatile. He's 23 years old, Turkish. He's played in several positions. He sometimes fills in at right back. He can play as center forward. He can play on the wing. He can do a little bit of everything. So that's nice. What that tells you is that if there's a need, fitness-wise, rotation-wise, he can offer something. But it also tells you that he can, filling in at right back particularly, he can do both on and off the ball work, which is good in a total football mindset. He's got 6 goals and 9 assists this season. So it's pretty decent numbers. That age, if you want to be considered a certain level of quality at that 23 especially, and especially in the Turkish league, no offense to the Turkish league, but it's it's not the Premier League, it's not La Liga, you'd want to see a little bit more. I'd probably want to see some more double-digit assists. Obviously, there's some time left in the season, but I want to see a little bit more from that. The price isn't too bad though, so it could be worth it for a club who's looking to raise that floor in their squad a little bit, kind of like United. Because Galatasaray are reportedly going to demand around £22 million for Yilmaz, which isn't bad for a lot of clubs. That's a lot, like like Sporting, they broke their transfer record to get Gyökeres, and that wasn't a lot. So it's all relative, right? Context is key, as I always say. Um, Honestly, like I've said before, the winger isn't a top priority for United. It would be, let's say, if Palestri goes, if Amad Diallo decides, you know what, I'm tired of this. I want minutes. I think I deserve minutes. This other club is offering me minutes. I'm going to go. Like if we sell those two, and let's say Sancho, we get rid of Sancho as well. That leaves us with Rashford, Anthony, Garnacho. We are going to need maybe another wide player in that regard. But again, it all depends on sales. And so we'll see what happens. I don't think, again, it's a priority. It could very quickly become a priority if a lot of these players leave, but you never know. So it's a weird position to be in, too, when clubs know you're selling players and know you have money and know you're desperate. Thankfully, this isn't a position that we're desperate in. So we do have some of the cards at this moment, and we haven't yet had to enter that right wing market. So it's not something to worry about, but it is something to plan for. And hopefully, if the rumors are true, it shows that we are planning ahead. So I liked if United could be more proactive when it comes to the window. I know there's reports coming out yesterday that we're hopeful that and almost confident that Dan Ashworth's going to be here in time for like June, July-ish to get started in these transfers. But it's still too late, that, in my opinion. But better late than never, I guess. Keeping up with transfer news. So Spanish outlet Nacional are reporting that United already have funds put aside allocated for Benfica midfielder João Neves. Thank you. According to the report, Barcelona are interested in Neves as well, but they are unwilling or more likely unable to pay the asking price, which is going to be around 80 million euros. I think that, João Neves is, like I've said before, I wax lyrical about João Neves. He's generational. He has a bit of everything you need. He reminds me a lot of Paul Scholes with a little bit of that Frankie de Jong sprinkled in. He can carry the ball. He can pick a pass. He's physical. He's good at taking the ball off the defense and kind of starting the attack. And he keeps the ball on the ground and he can carry it. And I love that. I would worry with a midfield with just like him and Kobe Mainey win it because they're both a little small, but they're both still teenagers, so there's still time there. But I do like João Neves a lot. I think he's worth it. I don't know. Given our financial situation, it's hard because I want him. I don't want him to go to another club. I don't want to have to miss out on him. But at the same time, we have a lot of need in the squad, and we don't have a lot of money. And that's if rumors are to believed. Yesterday, I think someone reported that we're going to be working with like 100 million net. I mean, that's a big chunk of change. So we have to sell some players. Selling, once someone like Varane, Casemiro, Sancho, let's say even those three off the books, wages alone, that's like 60, 70, like a year combined with all of that we're going to be saving. So I think people forget about wages and only think about fees. Wages are a part of it. If the Dan Ashworth fee to get him from Newcastle is part of our budget, because as reports said a couple of days ago, we don't want to spend that 10 million. We want to save that for transfers. All of that's included. Like these are the way you have to think. Casemiro leaving is a big chunk of change. Rafael Varane leaving is a big chunk of change. Sancho is a big chunk of change just in wages alone. So it could happen. It's just we need to be moving. We need to be proactive, and we need to be a bit ruthless and kind of just okay with the fact that we're probably going to be losing money in the long run. But it's new ownership. They don't care. It wasn't their money that got spent. Yeah, they're working with the budget and FFP constraints that these player fees cost. But if Ineos and Sir Jim are serious, then I think that they will be willing to open their wallets a little bit more than the Glazers. Now, some people are going to disagree and say, well, look at all the things they're cutting, all the perks for the staff for the trip to Wembley. They're cutting all the private cars and things. And I think that, yeah, you can say, I've seen some people say they're cheap. I think they're just cutting the lavish spending that the Glazers have done in an effort to have this appearance of being this big club. Yes, we are a big club, but we all know, because we've all been talking about it for a decade now, that in many ways we are being left behind. and it's like they bought a car 50 years ago, and it wasn't even a nice car. Like it's an old like Gremlin or something, and they don't want to fix it up. They don't want to get the engines looked at. They don't want to do anything internally. They just want to keep slapping a new coat of paint on it and having it look like it's a nice, like it's just not. It's really not. And the sooner we can start to really focus on the important stuff, the foundations, the inner workings, and stop looking so much at the window dressing, I think we're starting to see some real changes. It's not going to happen overnight, but it will happen, and you have to be patient. Let's talk about this fire sale at Old Trafford here. So it's being reported that apart from Hoyland, Garnacho, and Mainu, pretty much every United player is up for sale for the right price. It's like a make me an offer kind of a deal. So James Ducker with the Telegraph has reported that United are listening to offers from many first-team players in an effort to raise funds this summer. We need to reconcile FFP regulations. Obviously, we need to make up for losses in Champions League matchday revenue going into next year, because we're not going to have that, and that's a big deal, especially the TV money. We also have to strengthen the squad as well, though, with all that in mind. So a ton of players could be sold, to make room for that in our wages and our overall budget. We just talked about Casemiro, Varane, and Sancho. It is not a good look, though, when you have to sell all these players, right? It basically is admitting to the world that you've messed up and your players aren't good enough. So that makes it difficult to sell them. If everyone's for sale, why would we want them? What's wrong with them, kind of thing. It's like the first thing you ask when you're looking at buying something that's used. What's wrong with it? Why are you getting rid of it? Kind of a deal. I did the same thing when I bought my boat 2 years ago. Like, what's wrong with this? What's going on? It's a legitimate question to ask. It's not always the case that something's wrong with it, right? It's just, in the case of football, different managers, different profiles, whatever. It doesn't have to be anything wrong. I do think that this is kind of going to be a one-off, one-time situation. Though I don't think it's going to be a case every single year. I think it's just new ownership's coming in. This is the best way they can see to start to raise money in the short term. Everybody's up for sale. Fresh start in some ways. So aside from those three aforementioned players, the young players, the Hoyland, Garnacho, Mainu, the three and the featured in the famous photo of the celebration. It's also being reported by David Ornstein that United would prefer to keep Marcus Rashford and work with him and get him back to form, but would consider a sizable offer for him if one came in, or if he expressed a desire to leave. Today, though, Graham Bailey has reported that Rashford has told United he doesn't want to leave, and he's fully focused on recapturing his form. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with Rashford. I'm slowly losing my patience with Rashford. I don't think he's as bad as a lot of people say. I don't think that he's a purple patch player like a lot of people say. I don't think last season was a one-off. I think last season was a sudden spike in what was already an upward trajectory of when you look at his numbers. I did a video a little while back. It could have been a video, could have been an article, but basically Rashford's statistics over the years since his debut have been slowly climbing in an upward trajectory. So he was getting better. He was contributing more. There were years when his assists would drop, which was when he was kind of the main guy. There were years when his goals would drop and his assists would increase. That was typically the years when we would get like a striker, someone for him to supply chances for. And then there were years when everybody dipped in the squad, the bad years, like the Ragnick stuff and things. And so it's or like the year that Martial first came in and Rashford rotated heavily. And so the numbers drop. So overall, though, if you look at it, plot it out, it's an upward trajectory. And last year was kind of the zenith of that. And this year, obviously, we saw a big drop. I don't know what's going on. Like I said in another video, I do think Rashford is burned out. I talked a little bit about some of the symptoms of that and things. So you be the judge. Let me know what you think. Is Rashford burned out? Is he just not as good? I think that I wouldn't be. It's like a Ten Hag thing. Like I could see if he left, I could see if he stayed, and if he stayed, I'd support him. If he left, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. Um, but we'll see what happens. There's some other news as far as player sales go. So Ben Jacobs has stated that negotiators, representatives from clubs in the Saudi League, are optimistic about the availability of Rafael Varane. I mean, yeah, he's going to be a free agent as of now. So yeah, the availability is, yeah, I can see why he would be optimistic about that. He's going to be a free agent. So particularly Al Ittihad and Al Nassr have both shown interest. Al Nassr also reportedly tracking Aaron Wan-Bissaka, which is a little interesting. And then Casemiro as well as another Saudi target with Al Hilal reportedly interested. So apparently, according to this report, that United have also made it clear to some of these Saudi clubs that several players are available. And so we'll see how it goes. I'm a little frustrated when it comes to working with the Saudi clubs because we just seem to be like the one club who doesn't get very good fees. I mean, how much did Eric Bailly and Alex Tellez go for? Rafael Varane is going to be free, so we don't get anything from that. Casemiro, you might be able to get some money for. Martial, even. I think Martial would be something that would be a player that one of the Saudi clubs wouldn't mind picking up. But he'll be free too. So, and this is the problem. It's always funny to me when people are like, when they take a player fee or wages or contract situation and they use it as a stick to beat the manager, because it's not the manager that decides all those things. It's not a video game where you're playing manager mode and you decide the fee, you decide the wages, you decide the contract length, like you're playing FIFA or FC24. Sorry, it's not how it works. The manager, typically in a good structure, the manager is involved in the process of recruitment. Yeah, but they're not the ones making all the decisions. This isn't Fergie. This isn't, the way the Ten Hag's had to do it is not normal. It's normal for United as far as just how inept we are. It's not normal for a normal, like, well-run club like a Brighton or a City or something, or even a Liverpool. Yes, Klopp and Pep are involved, but they're not sitting there like, these are the players. I mean, I know Klopp famously did not want Mo Salah. He wanted Julian Brandt instead, kind of thing. I know that Pep was not super thrilled with Jeremy Doku, for instance. So managers should not be involved, and that's not just as an excuse. It's also, like I've said the other day, it's checks and balances thing. It's to make sure not any one person involved has all the decision-making power. We need to be taking a little of that responsibility away from Ten Hag. I know he wants a lot of control and a lot of say-so because he is a very player-specific system manager. His system requires a certain profile of player. It's not just oh, this player's available, let's get him in. Like, it doesn't matter if that. It's like a Mason Mount thing. Like, if we get a player that's because they're available or because they would be good at United and they don't suit the system, it's a waste of money. So we need to do a little bit better with that, and hopefully we will. Now that we've got a new structure coming in. So let's talk a little bit about some of these financial changes that might be coming to the Premier League soon. So journalist Martin Ziegler reported earlier yesterday that the Premier League, which in this case, the Premier League, whenever people say the Premier League get voted, it's the clubs. The clubs all vote on stuff. The clubs voted for VAR, voted for goal line technology. They voted about Super League stuff after that fallout. The clubs vote. The Premier League means the clubs. So they have agreed in principle to this spending cap. So it's actually termed anchoring. But what this means is it links the spending cap to the lowest amount of money earned in TV rights in a single club in the league. So that's key to remember, TV rights. It's not the club with the lowest revenue, it's TV rights. And so some people might worry, okay, well, what if some random club from a lower league gets promoted, some super low club with a low budget? Like, it's just going by TV rights. It doesn't matter how the revenue of any single club. It's their share of the TV money, which is still like 100 million. And so all the 26 clubs voted in favor of this. But Man City, United, Aston Villa voted against. Chelsea abstained from the vote, though I think they just asked Nicholas Jackson to mark the against box, and he just missed because he misses everything. Um, so the spending cap proposal was brought up because there's a growing fear that the bigger clubs in the Premier League, the big six typically, have developed an unfair advantage financially, that they're kind of out muscling smaller clubs. The cap is designed then to guarantee that the clubs who regularly feature in Europe stay on a level playing field, basically, with the rest of the clubs in the league, financially speaking. You know, and that is, you know, typically these clubs also feature in European competition, so it's meant to like take that in consideration as well. It does not affect current spending or wages. And according to the Times, United, or specifically Sir Jim and Ineos, have opposed these plans because they believe it puts English clubs at a disadvantage compared to other European leagues. To an extent, I can see that point. I do see it. It's. I wonder though if United are more worried that they're not going to be able to attract the profile of players that we want, because we usually just offer silly wages to bring people in, and we want, and with this in mind, we won't be able to do that. Although I do hear the point of offering, how it might put us at disadvantage with other leagues. It reminds me of any time in the past that the idea of a salary cap is brought up. It sounds great in theory, right? It's not fair that City can pay their players this much and other people can't. Like City, you're just going to be able to buy anybody. And same with United. We bring in players because we offer money. And salary cap, I get it. Like I've always fought, like a salary cap only works when every league in the world does it. Because yeah, if all the leagues agree, but one like league in like Latvia doesn't, and they'll just pay players however much they want, and every player is just going to go to the Latvian league. And so there is an appeal to playing in the Premier League, though. We've seen players come from clubs. I mean, João Palhinha came from Champions League Sporting to join Fulham, and I'm not trying to disrespect Fulham, but Sporting are in the Champions League. Fulham are not, and it's about the money. It's about the appeal of the league. A lot of players dream of playing in the Premier League. A lot of managers dream of managing the Premier League. So there is that pull. There is a pull to play at United, but we need to start kind of culling our player profile to players who want to play for United, which Ten Hag has wanted to do. All you tried to do that. So we'll see what happens with that. It's interesting, right? It's one of the bigger kind of bit of updates hitting the league this season, so it'll be interesting to watch. We'll end on a bit of injury news, some good, some bad. Starting with Shea Lacey. Shea Lacey's had a couple injuries. He only recently came back from an injury that saw him sidelined for like a month or something. He did pick up an injury yesterday, though, and he posted on X that his season is pretty much done as a result of this injury. It's a bummer to see. I know we were all excited about Shea Lacey. You wanted to see him get some, maybe see if he could feature in the first team towards the end of the season. It's not going to happen. But just let him heal, let him recover, let him come in maybe later on in preseason and see what he can do, and then we'll see if he's ready or not. Injuries can play a big role, and he's had a few already, so something to consider, something to keep an eye on. We also have an update on Scott McTominay, who he was, if you remember, against Burnley, he came on as a sub, and then he was subbed off because he picked up an injury. But he posted on Instagram yesterday, and he is with a bit of an update, as he said, "I slipped and fell awkward on my knee, similar to against Chelsea. Nothing serious, just hypertension, hyperextension, sorry. But I was angry and upset that I thought it was worse than it was. Hoping to be back on the pitch very soon to help the team as much as I can." So good news there for Scott McTominay. A lot of people don't rate Scott McTominay. I don't think you can dismiss the fact that he has been super effective this season. One of our top goal scorers, popping up in all these good moments, right place, right time kind of player. And he's a senior player. He's 26, 27 now. So again, at the end of the day, when it comes to any player, it doesn't matter as much if we as fans rate them. If they are a part of the manager's plans, if they're important to a manager's system, then losing them is a big hit. Okay, it doesn't matter what people think. If people cannot rate Anthony, I don't rate Anthony too highly, but if he's integral to Ten Hag's system and the way he wants to play, then losing him is a big miss. Losing Lisandro Martinez is a big hit. People will say, oh, he's not tall enough. It doesn't matter because we don't rely on that aspect of his game. He's really good on the ball, and that is important to the way Ten Hag plays. Yes, you're saying it's one player, but we've only had him and Varane, our strongest center back partnership, 5 times this year. Like, that's a huge, huge hit to us. And so it's good to have McTominay back. I hope that he'll be back in the next couple of weeks. I don't know if we'll see him against Palace. I worry about that Palace game. We'll be doing a preview of that this weekend, obviously, before it. But we'll see how that goes. So some injury news, fire sale news. That was the news roundup for today. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you think about the wage cap that we have coming. Let me know what you think about the fire sale. I think I probably will end up doing a keep, sell / loan kind of video in the future. Maybe also throw in their youth, promoting any sort of youth that we'd like to see rotated in next season. That'll probably come a little later on this season. Maybe I'll try to get someone to come on and join me. I feel like it would be more fun to have a bit of back and forth. Maybe get you guys involved in the live chat as well. So that could be fun. Let me know what you think about that. If that's something you'd like to see, something you'd like to get involved in, and we'll go from there. Don't forget to like the video again. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're new. And don't forget to stop by a little later on today when our next part in our next video in our series of managers that we're linked with will drop. Today we are taking a close look at a very rising, up-and-coming manager that is. He's been linked with several clubs. He's been interviewing a couple clubs, and he is Portuguese. He is around my age, and he has been linked with Liverpool. I'll let you guys guess with those clues who he is, but come back later on. We'll drop a video on that, and then we'll go from there. I will see you guys in the next one, and I will hopefully hear your thoughts in the comments. Have a good one.